It's the crack of dawn here at the world-famous Bondi Beach in Sydney, and I'm about to start a 2-day, 80-kilometre walking adventure to get to Manly in the north. I'd love to take you along with me. Let's do a ceremonial touching of the water and get this adventure started. Yes, there we go. Awesome, let's go.
Let me take you with me on this fabulous weekend adventure from Bondi Beach in the south, along the entire coastline, through the city and onto Manly Beach in the north, exploring some of Sydney's most spectacular scenery and iconic attractions. I hope my personal account of it here helps inspire locals and tourists alike to do some or all of this fantastic walk themselves.
Well, it's a bit bloody chilly this morning. It's 8 degrees at the moment, and when you include the wind, it brings it down to 5. It's not the best time of the year to be doing this walk in the middle of July from a temperature perspective, but at least I'm not going to sweat like a pig. There are a couple of brave souls out there surfing this morning, but of course if you're ever down here at Bondi and you want to go swimming, you just need to make sure to stick between the two flags. So the walk's taken us off the beach and up to street level now, but I've just stopped in here to look at the North Bondi viewing point. It's just marvelous, isn't it? I think the majority of today is going to be scenery like this. Coming into the neighborhood of Dover Heights now, where this cliff walk begins, and the scenery here is just incredible. I'm not even 5 kilometers through this walk, and I just pulled into this park called Dudley Page Reserve to be greeted with the most spectacular view of Sydney City I've ever seen. Check it out. This is one of the places in Sydney to come to if you're looking for the view of all views. What a place. All right, I found the true beginning of the cliff walk at the end of Lancaster Street. Where else in the world would you find something as beautiful and majestic as this? I'm here at the Macquarie Lighthouse, and this is the site of the oldest lighthouse in Australia. This particular building behind me was completed in 1883, but the first lighthouse here was constructed way back in 1818. But even before that, there have been nautical navigational aids at this site since 1791.
I walked past the South Head signal station and into Gap Park, where I saw my first view of North Head on the other side of the harbour, which I was planning to hike through the next day en route to Manly Beach. For now, I'm descending into the very quaint neighbourhood of Watson's Bay.
I've just reached the Hornby Lighthouse, which is directly opposite North Head, where I'll be tomorrow. I've stopped briefly here at Camp Cove Beach, got myself a little coffee from the kiosk up there. That's the end of the walk that leads me north, and now it's about 28 kilometres east until I get to Sydney City. This next section of the walk takes us on a short loop around the very beautiful Green Point Reserve, and then we come around to the eastern end of Watson's Bay before heading on towards Rose Bay. If anybody wants a free boat, there's one here for the taking at Watson's Bay Beach. Now I find myself in Parsley Bay Reserve, and not only is it really picturesque here in terms of the colour of the water and just the general landscape, but I was not expecting to find this little suspension bridge. I've never before walked through this area of residential Vaucluse before, but I can really see why it's considered such an exclusive and expensive neighbourhood. There's a lot of money around here, that's for sure. Stopping here to appreciate Shark Beach behind me, and it's crazy that even though Sydney City is only about 6 kilometres away in a straight line, there's still another 24 k's to walk just because of the way that we follow the coast. This here is the Hermitage Foreshore Walk, which will take me through to Sunset Point and Milk Beach. Take a look at these houses up here, and now look at this ridiculous view that they have from right here at Hermit Beach. I made it to Rose Bay Beach, and my watch is about to tick over to the 20-kilometre mark. And I think just up here in the little neighbourhood of Rose Bay, I'll stop for lunch.
Indeed, I grabbed some lunch here at the Collins Lane Cafe. It was delicious and reminded me very much of being in a Melbourne laneway.
Continuing on now through the little neighbourhood of Rose Bay before I turn right soon to again hug the shoreline. But once more, this is another part of Sydney that I haven't really spent much time in the past, despite living here for 4 years. I'd love to come back to Rose Bay and see more of it. It's a really chill and peaceful little neighbourhood. Nice to see some hometown love there on the direction sign with Townsville. As I explore the back roads of Point Piper, I just wanted to point out a couple of resources that I used in order to help plan this walk. First and foremost, there's an app that's completely free to download and to use, simply called Bondi to Manly. And I found this to be extremely useful in the sense that you can split the walk up into as many days as you like. You can do an 8-day walk, you can do a 4-day walk, a 1-day walk, or in my case, I chose 2 days of 40 kilometers each. And it really gives you the split as to where you should stop for the day. And it gives you some ideas about what you can see in the different legs of the walk that you take, and it gives you really good directions as well, not to mention the perfect live tracking here. Secondly, I also got this book called The Bondi to Manly Walk by Tara Wells. Unfortunately, it arrived a little bit too late, so I didn't have much of a chance to study it in great detail, but I've skimmed through it, and it's a really, really good resource. It has all the information you could need on every leg of this walk, including some great pictures in the middle as well. Here we go, some examples there. And thirdly, I also listened to a podcast called Australian Hiker. And they actually have 2 episodes out there about this particular walk, including one with the author of this book, Tara Wells. So they're the 3 resources I used to plan this walk. If anybody out there is interested in doing this kind of thing in the future, I highly recommend using them to do your own research. Well, this is a bit ridiculous when you're wearing shoes. Let's see if I can do this without getting my feet too wet. God. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, ridiculous. Okay, that's my first complaint about this walk so far. That is a ridiculous design. Whoever engineered this, they can go to hell. Just taking another coffee here at the Red Leaf Cafe, and I've seen behind me that this is the Murray Rose Pool at the 7 Shillings Beach, which is a very nice, safe pool to go swimming in. The really coincidental thing about passing this electrical box with the hearts on the outside is that I am listening to The Roots at the moment, and a song has just come on called Water, and I'm listening to it right now, and there's been about a minute of these heart beating sounds, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. So it was kind of freaky that I passed this at the same time. Passing through Double Bay now, and I love how every one of these bays has its own little characteristic. It's a stark difference here from what it was at Watson's Bay. The walk has taken us down to the Darling Point ferry terminal, a nice little detour before heading back and continuing on to another couple of bays before we finally reach Circular Quay in the city. Why walk the bay, they say. I'll tell you why you should walk the bay, because walking is one of the greatest recreational activities you can do with little to no cost. If you're new to the channel, I invite you to watch some of my previous content where I've done these kind of outdoor adventures, whether it be long distance walking or bike riding, a number of times in the past. I used to live in Canada, and I have a lot of videos from around Toronto and Montreal where I've lived previously, but I've recently moved back to my home country of Australia, and I plan on doing more of these adventures in the future, whether it be around Sydney, around New South Wales, or around this country. And I'm a huge advocate for getting out there and exploring your own backyard, whether it be by foot or by bike. It's such a great thing to do. Just found this little shelter that's been built into the rock to the side of Billiard Avenue. Very cool. Very magical little fish pond here at Arthur McElhone Reserve. And here we exit into the neighbourhood of Potts Point. This is giving me PTSD to Montreal. And back on track. This is where I should have come out of. The giant HMAS Supply is docked here at the port, and I was just reading this is a relatively new ship that was launched back in 2018. Right here is Harry's Cafe. I'm not going to stop there to eat right now, but it's a very legendary place to grab a meat pie when you're around Woolloomooloo. And just down the road from Harry's Cafe and across the little bay here is the famous Woolloomooloo Finger Wharf. And it's quite well known that Russell Crowe actually owns an entire floor here at the northern end of the wharf, although I do recall reading that his property went on the market last year. Not sure if it's sold yet, but regardless, this is where the rich and famous like to live when they're in Sydney. And here I am at Mrs. Macquarie's chair, which is an old chair carved out by convicts way back in 1811 for the then wife of the Governor General. Now at the 32-kilometre mark, just around the head past Mrs. Macquarie's chair, you get your first view of the very iconic Sydney Opera House. It's crazy to think that there's not one, but two architectural wonders of the world here in the midpoint of this walk from Bondi to Manly. It really has been a big bang for buck in terms of scenery so far today. I'm a little overwhelmed at how beautiful it's been. I'm going to do another 1 or 2 kilometers this evening until the end of the day one walk, according to the app, which is just on the other side of Circular Quay, and then I'll call it quits for the day. Just arrived here at the Hickson Road Reserve, and this is where I'm going to stop my walk for today. I'll resume from this point tomorrow. So before I press stop on my watch, I can see that I've done 35.5 kilometers for the day, and that's taken me 8 hours and 45 minutes. Wow, what a day. So let's put a stop to this. I'm certainly really happy to have come on this walk today. I'm definitely going to be up for doing another 40 Ks tomorrow. That's not going to be a problem at all. Now I'm going to head back to the city, find my hotel for the night, grab something to eat, and rest and relax. Staying at a budget hotel tonight in the middle of the city. It's the kind of place where you have to manually open and close the elevator doors, which adds to the charm. I just had a shower, and surprisingly I'm not feeling all that sore at the moment in my feet and legs. Actually, my shoulders are the most sore part of my body because I think my bag is a little bit more heavy than it needs to be. So I'll chill here for a little and go out soon to grab some dinner.
I hit the Sydney streets, found a steakhouse, and then crashed very deeply for a great night's sleep.
I'm back here for day 2, starting at the same spot that I ended the walk yesterday. This morning's task is to cross the harbour bridge, and then once I reach Kirribilli, I'll follow the southern trails along the northern shore of Sydney until I get all the way out to Manly. About 12 or 13 years ago, I was out for a walk one day. I think it was a Saturday morning. I was in this kind of area, and I noticed there was a huge crowd of people gathered around. And I went to see what all the commotion was about. And after a couple of minutes, this limousine, I think it was, might have even been this street here, this limousine pulled around the corner, came down here, and the window of the limousine wound down, and somebody waved at the crowd, and it turned out to be Oprah Winfrey. So I've actually seen Oprah Winfrey's hand out of a limousine window here underneath the harbour bridge. You know, I've done this trek across the bridge probably hundreds of times because I used to live down here in Kirribilli. It never fails to impress all these years later. As I mentioned earlier, I used to live here in Kirribilli many years ago, from 2009 to 2013, before I left for Canada, and I haven't been back here since then. So it's bringing back a lot of memories just walking around today. Kirribilli is famous for its 2 governmental houses. The first one behind me just here is Admiralty House, which is where the Governor General lives, and followed by Kirribilli House next door, which is where the Prime Minister lives when they're in Sydney. So when I lived in Kirribilli previously, I used to come down here to Lady Gowrie Lookout every now and then to soak in the serenity. And I thought it was really interesting because at the very base of the lookout, literally on the exterior of the residence of the Prime Minister, somebody had graffitied their names. And I wrote a song about that, because where else in the world could you literally get away with graffitiing the Prime Minister's walls? So I'm going to go down right now to see if that graffiti still exists. I doubt it, because it's been well over a decade since I was here last. And also the song that's playing in the background of the video at the moment is my song, Lady Gowrie Lookout. I hope you like it, and I'll leave links in the description to where you can go and listen to it yourself. Here we are.
Here at Lady Gowrie, look out.
This is where the graffiti was. It's not there anymore, but it's still really nice to come down here and reminisce.
Gowrie, look out. Here today and it will be forever.
Who knew there was a submarine school here in North Sydney?
Here today and it'll be a time to face behind and look back on.
I'm at Anderson Park now in Neutral Bay, and according to the app, this is about the halfway mark. So that's 40 k's down, 40 to go. It's going to be a long day today, especially given that I've already done nearly 8 kilometers. Hey buddy, what's your name? What's your name? He's a good pup.
Rocks will return. We will return.
This is probably the most panoramic view you'll get of Sydney from the North Shore. I'm here at the very tip of Cremorne Point, and I found the Robertson's Point Lighthouse.
They last a few years, never a lifetime. We tire and seek a fresh new start. We'll interfere if this becomes of us.
So I've come around Taronga Zoo, and I'm now on the Bradley's Head Trail, and this is one of the nicest trails I've seen so far.
And repaint our names here at Lady Gowrie, look out. Georgie and James.
Seeing for the first time today the Hornby Lighthouse, which is where I was yesterday, and between the two heads, the exit to the Great Pacific Ocean. This section of the path takes me towards Middle Head, which I've been to before. Unfortunately, I won't have time today to do any exploration, but basically it's an area that was used in centuries gone by for military fortification. And today the old ruins of the forts still remain for people to look around. It's really quite a fascinating place. Very well constructed and maintained boardwalks along this side of the walk. I would say that there is more elevation, I feel at least, in terms of loss and gain today compared to yesterday. But altogether it's a really well constructed path. The obelisk that you can see peeking through the bush back there was constructed to commemorate the lives of those lost in a shipwreck in 1857. Here I am at the Middlehead Forts. Like I said earlier, I don't have too much time to remain here and explore, but what a piece of history this is. Wow. Now along the very pleasant descent into Balmoral Beach. Made it to Balmoral Beach, which is personally my favourite beach in Sydney for swimming. 25 kilometres down, and now it's time for some electrolytes. Look at it, it's super chill, protected, no waves. This is the kind of beach you come to if you don't want to be disturbed by the surf. Another serene little beach, quite similar to Balmoral, except even quieter. This one is called Chinaman's Beach. Those little Bondi to Manly signs have come really well in handy along this walk. This one is Cyprian Street in Mossman. I swear, this is the hilliest suburb in all of Sydney. I love it, just this random suburban lighthouse here in Mossman. I'm just approaching the Spit Bridge, but I'm going to take a moment now because there's a little marker in the app telling me that I've finished 60 kilometers of this walk with 20 and a half to go at this very spot. So yes, this is the Spit Bridge, famous for being a lifting bridge that allows large nautical traffic to pass through. This is slightly annoying. There's a short detour at the moment because of some construction taking place, so I'll just need to reverse and take the long way around. At least the detour is well signposted. But now I'm at the top of Avona Crescent and the sign is pointing me back the way I came. My God. All right, still on track. Back on track. I've only got another half an hour or so until the sun goes down, so I want to appreciate as much of this light while I can. Clontarf Beach. another beach in Sydney that I've never before been to. I just saw that at low tide, you're able to take the beach path along here from Clontarf, but seeing as the tide is high, I'll take the road instead. From this vantage point, the sun has now officially set. It's at this point in the walk where the fun has essentially come to an end. From here on, it's more about the challenge rather than the scenery. But I'm determined to make it to the end. I'm not a quitter. I will do it. I have the energy and the motivation, but my body, it's really starting to feel it. I'm really enjoying this section of the forest at this time of the evening with all these weaving, winding gum trees. There's something really majestic about this. I know I said I wasn't going to take any more detours, but only about 10 or 15 meters off the main path is the site of some Aboriginal rock engravings. And right here we have some boomerangs. And here we have a fish. This one is even more visible. Yeah, that was worth adding an extra 2 minutes onto the walk. Well, this is really nice. I've just come to this point where I can see the flashing of the Hornby Lighthouse. Just here from this rocky outcrop, I can see my first view of Manly, my destination. I can't celebrate just yet though, because according to this walk, I still need to make it all the way out to North Head and then I'll come back into Manly. But I'm really happy to be able to finally see where it is that I'm going to end this damn walk. Clearly, I'm not going to be able to show you too much more from here on in terms of scenery. I'm going to persevere though, despite the dark. Of course, it does need to be pointed out that it's not recommended to do this kind of hike after the sun goes down. Personally, I've had plenty of experience doing this kind of thing. I feel confident that I'll be able to continue, and I also have my light. So I feel like I can go ahead, but I would not recommend this, especially if you're new to hiking. I definitely say to stick to this hike while the sun is up. Quickly stopping at Reef Beach to appreciate the sound of the frogs. At this stage of the walk, I find myself on the foreshore of the 40 Baskets Trail. And as you can see, I have deemed this to be relatively unsafe for this time of the night. It's going to take a lot longer than I anticipated to get from here to Manly. And I think what I'm going to do is call it a night once I arrive in Manly, and then I will come back another time and do the loop around North Head. So sorry to disappoint, but I'm making a call here in regards to my safety, and I think that's the best thing to do. It's 1.5 kilometers to go to the Manly Ferry, which is where I'll stop for the evening, but just wanted to give a couple of thoughts on today's walk. Day 2 was definitely more challenging than day 1 in the sense that there was a lot more gain and loss of elevation. Yesterday's walk was much more urban. Today's walk was a lot more foresty. If I had my time again, I'd certainly have left Sydney a little earlier this morning in order to arrive in Manly at a more reasonable hour during the daylight. But man, how amazing has that scenery been today? Again, I was overwhelmed with the beauty of this city, this harbour. And I also want to give a shout out to the people behind the concept of this Bondi to Manly walk. It's been executed so well. I've had such a good time over the past couple of days. Really, I recommend this to everyone, whether you're a Sydney local, whether you're a tourist to Sydney and you enjoy your hiking, you enjoy being outdoors. Do the whole walk, do a portion of the walk, do a couple of kilometers here and there on your weekends. It's such a great way of getting out and seeing what this beautiful city has to offer. But anyway, it's been a very successful weekend, despite the fact that I'll have to come back for a third day to close the gap on this challenge. I've really enjoyed myself, and I hope you have too. All right, Manly Wharf. Let's put an end to this walk for this weekend here. Okay, so that's, nearly 10 hours worth of walking time today and 39 kilometers, just over 39 kilometers. And I think I've done about 111,000 steps over the course of the weekend. Wow, what an adventure. So I will be back in another week or two to complete the rest of this walk. But for you, that's going to happen in 3, 2, 1. And just like that, about a month later, I'm back to finish off this walk. Jeez, it's a windy day today. Really nice surprise to come to the end of Collins Flat Beach and stumble upon this waterfall. I have no idea if this is a permanent feature, but I know we have had a lot of rain here in the past couple of weeks in Sydney. I got a bit wet, but I managed to get here to the top of the waterfall. Why can't I see a bandicoot? All I see are turkeys. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a fan of historic cemeteries, and I'm in one right now. This is the 3rd Quarantine Cemetery, which was constructed in 1881. There are 241 people buried here, most of whom died either by smallpox or the bubonic plague. Very sad. I made it to the Fairfax Lookout at the very tip of North Head. There's not many other words that can describe this aside from spectacular. I'm glad I made the decision to come back here during the day as well, because it would have been a shame to miss out on this in the dead of the night. Well, this area here around North Head and the Barracks Precinct, as it's called, I'm finding is really interesting, and it's well worth spending a couple of hours here because there's all these offshoots you can take where you can discover these old historical artifacts like gun emplacements and old fortifications, not to mention the scenery, the lookouts. It's really a history lover's paradise here. Now we have Manly and some of Sydney's northern beaches come into view. There's Freshwater, Curl, DY. Just magnificent. I'm honing in now on my final destination of Manly Beach, and I would just say after today's experience that whatever you do, don't skip North Head. I actually think that was my favourite part of this whole adventure. And there we are, I've done it. Another 12.5 kilometres down today, but that is the full Bondi to Manly walk. I'm really happy that I did that. That was so enjoyable. And I'll just do a final ceremonial touching of the water to put this journey to bed. There we go. Nice. Well, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And leave me a comment if there's a walk somewhere around New South Wales or even the whole of Australia that you think will be worthwhile me checking out. So signing off here from Manly Beach. Until the next adventure, bye-bye.
Here today and it will be forever. Here today and it will be forever.